inserting into the database. It's quite straightforward when you want to insert data for the columns. However, one thing to be mindful of is there's two ways of you can actually insert into the database. One is by mentioning, for example, you have a customers table, you say name, address, and so forth. You can list the columns. For example, if you just wanted to list certain columns, you can say column 1, column 2, column 3, as you can see from the slide. That will give you specifics of certain columns, so you don't need to know their places as long as you know which columns you want to insert. That will be suffice for you to create that query and get it successfully inserted into the database. However, you could also insert all of the columns from table A into table B, or insert all of the columns, data for all of the columns, by not specifying the columns. You can just say insert into table values X, Y, Z. And you don't need to specify that, as long as the values, however, need to be corresponding with the columns. The data value needs to be corresponding with the column. So for example, the column 1 contains ID, unique ID. Make sure that when you're putting it into the syntax, it has column 1 and not column 2. For obvious reasons, it's going to fail, and it's going to fail miserably, and it's going to make you do the work all over again. So just to reiterate, you can insert into the database, into the table by specifying particular columns, or not specify the columns. You can insert into all of it by adding the values into the insert statement. Comment below if you want a bit more explanation on that, and I can send you specifically an example on that. For the purpose of this exercise, we're going to stick to the basics, and we shall continue with the basic theme for the next slide now. Thank you. SQL delete statement. It is what it says on the tin. It actually deletes whatever you ask it to delete. It will delete. It's not going to hang about. It's not going to say, are you sure you want to delete this, blah blah blah. No, it's just going to go ahead and delete. So ensure, again, as with the update statement, ensure whatever you're deleting, it has a where clause in it. For example, if you wanted to delete, again, going back to, you've updated the Joe Smith to Joe Blogs. So then you do is, if you wanted to delete that, you say, well, I need to delete this particular column. So what do? I say update customer table, delete where ID equals 7. So you already know ID. For example, in the previous example in the update statement, we just gave it a number 7 for uniqueness. So you'd say delete where ID equals, customer ID equals 7. So that way it will just delete Joe Blogs. However, if you omitted the where statement, then you're in a whole heap of trouble, because it will delete everything in that table. Trust me, it will. I won't even want you to try it, because the amount of stress that you will get trying to restore that data, especially if there's no restore available to you, God help you then. Update statement, it is exactly what it says. It updates your table with the specific data that you want to update it with. For example, you want to change the name of Joe Smith to Joe Blogs. the way you would do it is you would say update a table and set the column name of, for example, surname, which happens to be Smith. Set the surname to blogs. But what you do need to be careful of is ensure that you put the where clause in. If you don't put the where clause in, it's going to update every single record that has Smith beginning with it in the surname table, surname column, should I say. So you would need to ensure that you put the where clause and then identify a unique ID for that particular record. So in this case, if your blogs had ID of say 7, you'd say where ID equals 7. That way you're only updating that particular column. I cannot emphasize enough that you must be careful in order not to do a batch update accidentally, because that will create a whole lot of problems for yourself, especially if you can't roll back. But in order to avoid that, ensure that you only list the column or columns that you want updating with your update statement. It's simple as that, but make sure that you do follow the syntax of update table where column equals XYZ, whatever you want the data to be, where the uniqueness of that column is. Thank you.